All right. Well, first off, gotta be humble here, and I gotta be a man of my word. And I said that I would eat my crow if Anthony Joshua won last night, and I have to eat my crow. I've never ever been more wrong about a prediction than I was about last night's fight. I was wrong on so many levels. Everything that I said in regards to previewing this fight beforehand, I was wrong 110%. So this was probably my worst prediction, my worst breakdown or pre-fight breakdown analysis that I have ever done. Because if this was a test yesterday and I was taking a test on my analysis of the fight and how it would play out, I would have got an F. I probably would have got every single question on the test wrong. So let's talk about the aftermath now, because I looked at Andy Ruiz as an outlier. Um, People talked about Buster Douglas and how he put on 15 pounds for the rematch, or not the rematch, excuse me, for the fight with Evander Holyfield after he upset Mike Tyson. And we all saw what happened there. He was looked like he was clearly out of shape, didn't train for the fight, and got knocked out in 2 rounds. Now, Andy Ruiz, I thought, was a different story because this is a guy that really wasn't in shape for the first Joshua fight, if you want to be honest about it. He was 268 pounds. He was 6 pounds heavier than he was for his prior fight against Alexander Dimitrenko. And this is a guy that's probably walks around at 300, 310 pounds anyway. So this guy's not a guy that really technically gets into the best physical shape possible. But again, I looked at him as an outlier because regardless of his heavy weight, he was always able to perform at a high level. And you could argue that when he weighed 255 for Joseph Parker, that he didn't put on as good of a performance as he put on when he was 268 against Anthony Joshua in the first fight. So that's why I looked at Ruiz as an outlier, because Buster Douglas was in shape for the first Tyson fight, or for the only Tyson fight, I should say, and he looked great. And he was out of shape for the Holyfield fight, and he didn't look so great. Well, like I said, Ruiz arguably has been out of shape for predominantly his whole career. So history has shown us that this man could perform at a high level without being in the best physical condition. So that's why I didn't think that it would be much of a difference last night. But I have to take Ruiz at his word. I have to take his team members, his trainer, his father at their word. And they said that it was a problem because apparently this was not a good training camp for Andrew Ruiz. He was actually doing a lot of his training by himself, admittedly. And the trainer, Manny Robles, did not deny it either. And the father did not deny it either, because what had happened was Andrew Ruiz was running on his own. He wasn't even staying, in the same living quarters as the rest of his team. He was out, staying with his friends. He was out partying. They showed footage of him for the Wilder fight. While he's watching the Wilder fight with a group of friends, he was eating a lot of, junk food, greasy food, pizza, wings, and all that stuff. And this is all the while. Meanwhile, he's training for a fight. So this was not one of his best training camps, and admittedly, he did not train to the best of his ability. Um, he went as far as saying that he needs to take his training more serious. And if he's saying things like that, then that's kind of a red flag, because if you're the heavyweight champ of the world, it doesn't get any more serious than that. If you're out there trying to defend your title against a top level athlete like Anthony Joshua, then you have to make sure that you're in the best condition possible, and you have to make sure that you train to the best of your ability. So Ruiz has displayed um, a lack of discipline throughout the whole course of his career, and despite all of that, he still was able to become heavyweight champ of the world. but he wasn't able to hold on to that title as a result of that as well. So what happens next? He wants a third fight. I don't think he deserves it, and I don't think he's going to get it. Because you could say what you want about Anthony Joshua, but we do know that he always comes to the fights in shape. We do know, or I strongly suspect, and I'm sure that most others would suspect that he was properly trained for the Ruiz fight in the first time. It wasn't like he came in out of shape. It wasn't like he didn't train. It wasn't like he wasn't um, trying to prepare himself to be in the best possible shape that he could be in. But the problem was Andrew Ruiz did not prepare himself properly, did not put forth his best effort last night in terms of preparation and in terms of the fight itself. Because if you admit that you didn't train properly and you didn't take your training camp seriously, then you basically pissed away a great opportunity that you had to become arguably the face of boxing last night. So it wasn't like Anthony Joshua didn't train for the first fight. Like I said, it wasn't like he pissed it away. It wasn't like he didn't try to prepare himself to the best of his ability in the first fight. He just went in there with a game plan that he thought would work, and the game plan that he had set forth for himself in the first fight just wasn't the right game plan. It didn't work. It wasn't effective. So he, went back to the drawing board and did switch up game plans, which I questioned whether or not he could do. And once again, I was 100% wrong in that too, because I did not think a leopard could change his spots. And guess what? Anthony Joshua was a leopard that turned into a tiger last night, a tiger / gazelle, because he was able to fight when he had to fight, and he was able to stick and move when he had to stick and move, and he implemented a clinch game up close too. So we have to give him credit for what he did. We have to even give him credit in the first fight for getting up 4 times and trying to continue. Again, this was a guy that always took his career seriously, but maybe just was confused on how to proceed with it moving forward as he was heavyweight champion. He said that it was a lot of pressure being heavyweight champion, and possibly it might have got to him. But last night, I think he vindicated himself. He proved that, okay, it is a big responsibility. It is a lot of pressure being champion, but this is what I want. This is what I want. I want my belts back. I want to be world champion. Same thing with Tyson Fury. When Tyson Fury had his issues after becoming world champion, I guess everyone reacts differently to it, but it's not how you react to it. It's how you're able to deal with any shortcomings that may come your way. And I think Joshua realizes now that this is a tough job. This is a job that does put a lot of pressure on you. But if I'm just going to have to deal with that pressure if I want to be, continue to progress in my career and continue to be heavyweight champion. So I think Joshua did learn a lot in the first fight, not just from a tactical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. I questioned whether or not he wanted it, and he proved me wrong on that front as well. He does want it, because there were times when he got clipped in that fight, and instead of trying to fight right back, he showed discipline, and he reset himself and just stuck to the game plan throughout the whole course of this fight. So you can't say anything bad about Joshua. Joshua did have a rematch clause, so of course he deserved to have the rematch. But Andrew Ruiz, there's no rematch clause. You already admitted that you didn't prepare yourself properly. You didn't take it seriously. And based off of that, I don't think a lot of people would want to see a third fight. I don't think the fans are going to be calling for a third fight. What I can see happening possibly is maybe him fighting Deontay Wilder, if Deontay Wilder is able to get by Tyson Fury, which I strongly suspect that he won't. I'm picking Tyson Fury in that rematch. I think Tyson Fury will step up to the plate, and I think he'll be even better than he was in the first fight. You can say what you want about the Wallen fight, but again, Tyson Fury will go into the second Deontay Wilder fight with a different mentality, a different strategy, and he'll be properly trained for Deontay Wilder the second time around. And I think you'll see the best version of Tyson Fury where I don't even think we saw the best version of Tyson Fury in the first fight, which I said 75% of Tyson Fury would have been enough in that fight, and I thought Tyson Fury should have got the decision on that first fight, but that's neither here nor there, because now the heavyweight division is back where we started about a year ago, or 6 months ago, I should say. Now we're back to where we started. We're going to have these debates. There's going to be the factions, the AJ side and the Deontay Wilder side. And I don't suspect that we'll see this Deontay Wilder Anthony Joshua fight anytime soon. I suspect possibly we may see this in 2021. But now I think that we probably found some middle ground. I think that if they were to fight, I think Saudi Arabia would be a great place for the fight to take place. I think it would be a great place. It'll be neutral grounds. That way, Wilder won't have to go to the UK, and that way Joshua won't have to go back to the United States. But I'm sure Joshua will eventually come back to the United States. But I think if the Wilder Joshua fight was to happen, I think Saudi Arabia would be a good compromise. I think it would be a good place for the fight to take place. But we all know that there's going to be the back and forth with the A side, B side thing. And here's the thing we have to look at. I mean, Anthony Joshua went into last night's fight as the loser, as the challenger, and he made more fight as the challenger than he did as the champion. Okay, and he made more money than any heavyweight has ever made, possibly last night. I would strongly suspect. The number is about 85 million. But I've heard it's like 60 million, 50, 60 million. If that's the case, if even if Joshua made 50 or 60 million dollars last night as the challenger, well, now he's the champion again. So again, this guy is the economic power in the heavyweight division. Saudi Arabia definitely confirmed that for us last night, and I'm sure they would be willing to pay him a substantial sum to come back, and I'm sure they would be willing to pony up a lot of money for a Deontay Wilder Anthony Joshua fight as well. So what I foresee happening is I see Anthony Joshua fighting Pulev next, then fighting Usyk, and that'll probably have him covered for the total of next year, and then hopefully we can get a Deontay Wilder fight in 2022, because I see Anthony Joshua being tied up for at least the next 2 fights, possibly 3 if he has to fight a third mandatory. So, we'll see what happens. Ralph, the money is in Saudi Arabia, but again, it's still in the United States too, because you don't know how much money this fight would have grossed in the United States. You don't know how much money would have been put up if this fight was back in the Madison Square Garden. This fight's going to be huge regardless. It was going to be huge regardless. Saudi was the best choice because it was neutral. So Sean Newton says, Beeb, you have Fury winning, so an AJ versus Fury fight in the UK. That could happen. That could definitely happen. I think that we'd have a better chance of seeing Fury versus AJ as opposed to Wilder versus AJ. Because once again, I think Fury will win the fight against Wilder. And I think that because of the Fury's marquee value in the UK, I think they'll probably give him a better deal than they would probably give Wilder. I think they'd be easier to negotiate with, but I could be wrong. So we'll see what happens, guys. There's a lot of question marks now in the heavyweight division. We don't know how this is all going to play out. There's so much possible scenarios that can happen, but Andy Ruiz did come out and say that he felt as though He was too heavy for this fight. He did say that he did not have a great training camp, and he did say that he didn't take this fight as serious as he should have. So he's basically admitting he had me fooled. Alexander Wilson, thank you so much. He said, "What's next for Fury Wilder after they fight? Maybe a third. Where do they go? Maybe White, but White is talking about rematching AJ. Very intriguing." Well, here's the thing. I think that Fury is going to win. Would there be a third fight? Well, if I would imagine Deontay Wilder's team will have a rematch clause in place. So if Fury does win, I could see a third fight because I don't think Fury is going to blow Wilder out of there. So if Fury does win, I could see a third fight. And then after that, depending upon who wins the third fight, if Wilder was to win the third fight, then I could see Wilder fighting Ruiz. Don't be surprised if Ruiz could be a potential Wilder opponent if Wilder can get past Fury. That's not out of the realm of possibility. So, Joshua definitely put on a clinic last night. He won probably 10 out of the 12 rounds. You could argue maybe he even won 11 if you wanted to. Ruiz, like I said, him and his team admitted that they weren't in the best shape. They admitted that they didn't have a good training camp. So I just don't think that the fans are going to want a third fight. And I don't think Ruiz is going to get a third fight, not with these mandatories. So at the end of the day, I think Ruiz squandered a great opportunity. I thought Ruiz was an outlier, but again, he fell victim, just as a lot of other champions have fallen victim to the Buster Douglas syndrome. He was too happy with partying, and he just couldn't get focused. He went on a 6 month celebration campaign that just never ended. And when it came time to come back into camp, he just wasn't mentally focused enough and mentally disciplined enough to get back into fight mode and get prepared for this fight. So he definitely did not take the fight seriously. Definitely did not train. He definitely ate his way out of this heavyweight title. These were all things that he admitted to during preparation for the fight. I mean, all you have to do is go and listen to the post-fight press conference. He himself said he was too heavy. He himself said that he didn't train properly. He himself said he didn't listen to his father. He didn't listen to his trainer, Manny Robles. He basically went and trained himself instead of training with Manny Robles. So you have to ask yourself, how culpable is Manny Robles in this situation? You're the trainer. You got to put your foot down. You got to demand that your fighter do what you need him to do, or threaten to leave the camp. But again, when you're heavyweight champ of the world and you got all those people around you, and there's so much money on the table, no one's going to tell the heavyweight champion no. No one's going to do that. So there was just too much money to lose. So, Manny Robles wasn't going to walk out. And the father, obviously, is not going to abandon his son. But someone, needs to really put a foot in Ruiz's butt and let him know, man, this isn't the way to go. This isn't the way to go. So at the end of the day, hopefully this is a learning lesson for Ruiz. Alexander Wilson, thank you so much. He said Ruiz has had multiple trainers in his careers. Yeah, he has had a few trainers in his career. But Joshua stuck with his, and he did what he had to do. Brandon White said, "How was AJ boxing beautifully, jogging around the ring for 12 rounds, throwing jabs?" No, he landed some good right hands, busted up Ruiz. I'm not going to do that, man. I'm not going to do that. So when Floyd Mayweather does it, it's called great boxing. But now that AJ does it, all of a sudden it's called running. We're not going to play that game. We're going to be fair here, and we're going to call this the way it should be called. We're not going to be bias here. We're going to be objective in our analysis of what happened last night. You have to respect Joshua for being able to do what he did last night, for his discipline, for fighting in a way that we haven't seen him really fighting. I've never seen Joshua box like that in my life. So we can't say it's beautiful boxing when Erislandy Lara and Floyd Mayweather do it, and then when Anthony Joshua does it, he's running. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Mr. Boston today says Ruiz versus any come forward fighter will be entertaining in my opinion. Konaki, especially Brazil and White, etc., etc. Well, I will say this: Andrew Ruiz will get more fights. I mean, PBC will keep him busy. They have a good amount of heavyweights, and I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew Ruiz fights a Konaki or someone along the lines of that. I think that's totally possible. But the question is, can he get himself in shape? Can he get himself in fighting shape? So again, we're not going to criticize Joshua. Joshua, I thought, fought a masterful performance last night. Now, can he fight that same fight against Deontay Wilder for the full 12? I don't think so, but he can still do it in spots. But I think he may want to pull against Deontay Wilder. I think he may want to go back to the mid-range a bit because I think he would have the advantage against Deontay Wilder in the mid-range, whereas Deontay Wilder with those long arms, he could be out one side of the ring and reach across and still hit you with that right hand because his arms are so long, and he's got a good jab himself. So I think that he would have to mix in some of his mid-range tactics against Deontay Wilder. Beeb, do I think that he could outbox Usyk? I think he'll knock out Usyk. I think he'll knock out Usyk. So here's the thing with Joshua. He showed us another wrinkle last night, something that I didn't anticipate him having. And let's not forget that even with what he showed us last night, he still has that knockout punch too. He could still hurt you too. He can hurt you with either hand, and he still has a dangerous uppercut in the mid-range area. He still has a dangerous hook. Still has a big right hand. So we can't sit there and say that Joshua is not a dangerous heavyweight now just because he lost one fight to Andrew Ruiz. Once again, we fall victim to this Mayweather mentality that you have to be undefeated to be great. That's something that Mayweather pushed. That's something that Mayweather has shown that this generation and put out to this generation of young fans that, oh, hey, if you're not undefeated, you're not great. And we know that's not true. We know there's many fighters, all-time greats, probably a lot of fighters that most people rank ahead of Mayweather all-time on the all-time great list have losses. So just because someone has a loss, it doesn't mean that they're not a good fighter. I mean, I'm going to admit, I question whether or not AJ could bounce back from this, not because he lost, but just because of the things he was saying. But I'm going to have to come to the realization that maybe this is just who Joshua is. Maybe even in questioning himself, maybe in him, digging down deep and searching for ways to motivate himself and ways to take that doubt away. Even with maybe me questioning his confidence, maybe that fuels him. Maybe that motivates him. Maybe the concern that this could all slip away from me. Maybe he needs that. Maybe he needs that. I don't want to use the word fear, but maybe he needs that awareness that if I don't perform every time out, that this could all slip away from me. Maybe it's good for him to not be overconfident. Maybe it keeps him grounded. Maybe it keeps him aware. Maybe it keeps him alert to what's in front of him. Because the one time you could argue that maybe he was a bit too confident, that's when he lost. So maybe him questioning himself, he can use that as a weapon. He could use that as fuel to make sure he stays on top of his game. to make sure he doesn't lose sight of the prize, to make sure he doesn't get complacent. So every fighter has a different mental psyche. Like Bernard Hopkins basically had to have that feeling that the whole world was against me. He had like a chip on his shoulder, like everyone was against him. Like he was the bad guy, so to speak. He was the guy that everyone wanted to push out of the sport of boxing. He was anti-establishment, and he needed to have that chip on his shoulder. He needed to fuel himself with all of that negativity. He took the negativity from fans and from boxing in general, and he turned that into a positive. He used that as fuel to motivate himself. You know, like the whole world was against him. So maybe Joshua needs to question himself. Maybe he needs to say to himself, listen, I have to make sure I'm good enough. I have to make sure that I'm aware of the threat that's in front of me, and it could all slip away if I'm not on top of things. Maybe he needs that. Maybe I was wrong. Apparently I was wrong based off of what happened last night. Thank you, Alexander Wilson. Chavez Sr. won 88 straight fights, which is the boxing record, but nobody ever talks about it. Many fans now don't know history. Well, Sugar Ray Robinson I think he won about 100-something fights in a row before he lost, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe he lost. No, I apologize. He did not. He lost. I think he lost in his 44th or 45th fight. But then after that, he went like 100 and something and won before he lost again. So yeah, I think you're right there, Alexander Wilson. Who Wilder reign over pull counter boxing? Oh, Sean Newton says he's not talking to me. Okay. All right. Pull counter boxing says we want to get fake fighters like Canelo and AJ out of boxing. We want fake boxing fans to find another sport. Well, I'm not going to go as far as saying Canelo and AJ are fake fighters, man. I mean, again, we have these factions. We have one side versus the other, but you can still have that. But I think we still should be objective. Again, if Mayweather did what AJ did last night, if Erislandy Lara did what AJ did last night, if another fighter did what AJ did last night, then it's called beautiful boxing. But because AJ did it, now all of a sudden it's going to be called running. You know, when Guillermo Rigondeaux does it, it's beautiful boxing. We can't have it both ways, guys. When Caleb Plant does it, it's called beautiful boxing. So because of the fighters that you're a fan of certain fighters, and if they do what AJ did last night, all of a sudden they would be considered beautiful boxers. But now because AJ did it, he's running. I'm not going to accept that. I'm not going to accept that narrative. I'm not. You guys want to call me biased? But I'm going to be objective. What Anthony Joshua did last night was a virtuoso of performance, and we have to give credit for that. Should not be taken away from him what he did last night, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. The guy deserves full credit for his performance last night. Hey, Beebs, do you think Hearn will have AJ drop the WBO strap so Usyk versus Chisora going to happen? I think Hearn's going to do everything possible, and I think AJ is going to do everything possible to hold on to all three of those belts. Now, Dan Rafael tweeted out something earlier today or maybe late last night that he believes that the WBO will strip Anthony Joshua because Anthony Joshua has a mandatory, I believe, with the IBF. But I think if Eddie Hearn calls up the WBO and assures them that as soon as he gets his IBF mandatory out of the way, that he'll immediately, or in the very next fight, fight the mandatory for the WBO. I think Eddie Hearn can work it out. I think Varasol is smart enough to know that he'd rather have the sanctioning fee from a Joshua fight than from a Chisora fight or an Usyk fight. So I think that AJ is the money guy, and I think that if he does the proper thing and fills out the proper paperwork and does what he has to do with the sanctioning bodies, then he'll be able to hold on to the belts. I mean, Joshua had these belts unified for a good period of time before he lost to Ruiz, and he was able to work with the sanctioning bodies, and he was fighting his mandatories when he had to fight his mandatories. But again, you can file for exceptions. You can file for extensions with these sanctioning bodies as long as you fill out the proper paperwork. People think that Tyson Fury got stripped unfairly, but it was his own fault when the IBF stripped him because he did not notify the sanctioning body and let them know whether or not he required an exception or not. So that was his fault. He could have filed for an exception and went right into the Klitschko rematch, and the IBF would have more than likely would have granted it to him. But if you don't fill out the proper paperwork, then you're going to get stripped. So, I mean, I think that Eddie Hearn's smart enough to know what needs to be done, and I don't think Joshua's going to get stripped of anything as long as the proper paperwork is filed. Mr. Box Day says, props, Beeb. Just because other fans act like suckers after their favorite fighter lose doesn't mean you have to exhibit the same behavior when you get fight prediction wrong. AJ boxed a beautiful fight. Yeah, he did miss the boxing today. He did. And you know what? Anyone from the UK that wants to give me stick, they're more than welcome to do so. I mean, you guys got bragging rights today. Your man won. There's no question about it. Your man did everything that I said he could not. He did everything that I said he could not. He proved me wrong on all fronts. Like I said, this was the worst prediction I've ever made in my life because I was wrong about everything here. I could not have been more wrong about anything in my life than I was about what happened last night. I couldn't. Now, I envisioned Joshua possibly getting a decision, but I thought it would have been a close, controversial one. There was no controversy last night, not an ounce. He took Ruiz to school. He took Ruiz to school. And we don't want to make excuses for Ruiz, but Ruiz told you. He told you he didn't train for this fight. He told you he didn't take the fight seriously, but that's not Joshua's fault. That's not Joshua's fault. Yeah, we could chop it up, Ralph. I'll be popping on one of your streams later this week. You do the stream on Mondays. I'll more than likely jump on tomorrow night when you're on. Beeb, you predicted Paul Williams would beat Sergio Martinez too. That's I absolutely did, yeah. And you picked Anthony Joshua for the first fight, Centurion Summit. Remember that? So I mean, we're going to be wrong here. I mean, again, we can go down the list of all of our predictions lifetime, and I can guarantee you that all of us will probably be at least 45 to 50% wrong. Because this is how it is, man. This is how it is. Mr. Boxing Today says, we've been on here 10 years plus making prediction videos. Getting them wrong is bound to happen. If you truly believed in your pick based on facts, style, breakdowns, logic, fighters' tendencies. Yep. Brit MK2 says, AJ doesn't know how to clinch technically. Well, he showed a good clinch game last night, in my opinion. Listen. AJ does inside game. Yeah, he doesn't have a good inside game. He doesn't. But he definitely has a mid-range game, and he definitely has showed a little bit of a long distance game too. He showed some long distance tactics last night, something that I totally underestimated of him. But Wilder doesn't have an inside game either, to be perfectly honest with you. But I love the channel. Look at some of Dwyer's picks. Nobody can see it as the be-all, end-all because someone gets a pick wrong. Well, the thing is, everybody brags when they get picks right, but how many people come on here and actually admit when they're wrong? And when I say admit when you're wrong, don't come on here and make excuses why you're wrong. Just admit you were wrong. There's going to be other people that are going to come on here this morning and say, oh, all AJ did was run, blah, 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 blah. Give the guy his credit. He won the fucking fight. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Thank you, Ralph. Appreciate the support. Yeah, we're not going to do that on here, man. We're not going to do that on here. Centurion Son said, I picked Mr. Douglas. Yo, I picked Tyson Fury over Vladimir Klitschko. I picked Miguel Cotto over Sergio Martinez. I picked Tim Bradley over Manny Pacquiao. When I got 4-1 odds against in every single one of those fights. So basically, all those fights that I got 4-1 odds on, Pacquiao, Fury, Bradley, Cotto. Okay, so 4 times 4, that's 16. So winning those 4 bets is like winning 16 bets because I got paid 16 times 1. So it's not how many times you're right, it's how much you win when you're right if you're a gambler. Gamblers, people who gamble, especially people who gamble on boxing, you're looking for value bets. Okay? Anyone can bet the chalk all night, but who wants to do that? You want to get value on your pick. So you could be wrong half the time, but still be in the plus column with your winnings. Ryan knows this. How many times I've seen Ryan, him and I talk about bets all the time, right? I think he picked that. I think he hit an 8-1. He hit an 8-1 underdog this year. So now Ryan could lose his next 3 or 4 bets. He's still up because he got paid 8 times 1. So if you put up $100 on an 8-1 underdog, you win your 100 back plus the 8. That's $900. So if he loses his next 4 bets at $100, he's still in the win column. This is what people don't understand. This is what people don't understand. So you got to understand, winning from a gambler standpoint, and then people who just want to go in these fantasy leagues and, my winning percentage is 70, yours is only 40. Okay, but how much money have you won with your 70%? You bet the chalk. You're putting up $1,000 to win 100. I'm putting up $100 to win 700, 800, or 600. What's the better investment? So it is what it is, guys. So I would put my bankroll up against anyone else's bankroll any day of the week, especially you guys who don't even bet fights, who just sit there and say, oh, I've been right more times than you. Yeah, but how many times you've been let's look at your lifetime of predictions. Look how many upsets have happened in the sport of boxing, particularly this year. Did you get those picks right too? I'm sure you didn't. When Jean Pascal beat Marcus Brown this year, did you have Jean Pascal? Did you have him? Did you have Cancio in his upset victory? How many times did you have Ruiz in the first fight, you guys? How many people bet Ruiz in the first fight? Let me know. Dying to know. Listen, if you've spent a lifetime of making picks, you're going to be wrong at least 45 to 50% of the time. If you were to add up all your picks lifetime. Okay? Nobody had Pascal. So I don't even want to hear it. Sean, I'm not talking to you. You're always getting defensive. You always think you're being attacked. You're always playing the victim. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about the person that talked about my pick about some other fight that I got wrong. So I don't know why you're getting defensive. I'm not attacking you. Just for that, you should give me a super chat. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. I thought you were talking to me. Thought you were talking to me. I apologize. Yep. So The heavyweight division is back where we started. Andrew Ruiz squandered a great opportunity. He admittedly did not give himself the best chance to win. Badu Jack versus Pascal, what's the play? Depends what the odds are. It really depends what the odds are. I'm suspecting Pascal will be at least a 3-1 underdog. So we're gonna have to look at some of the prop bets in that fight, Ryan. And it's hard to bet. It's hard to bet a prop bet with Pascal because he gasses out. Sometimes he'll gas out and get stopped. So it's really that's a hard fight to bet, to be honest with you. Unless you want to do two prop bets. But I think Jack should win that fight. I think Jack should definitely win that fight. I picked Charlo to beat Williams, says Sean Newton. Okay. What's next for AJ? AJ versus that. There's not going to be a third fight. There's no way there's going to be a third fight. Ruiz, there's no rematch clause, and Ruiz didn't do anything to prove that he deserves a third fight. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, but I like this show better than the other show I was on. I think it's just better. I think it's more substantive content here. So Logan Wolf says, "Beef, Sean Newton hates Fox News. He must be an angel." Well, Sean likes who he likes. I can't sit here and tell Sean what fighters to like and what fighters not to like, man. All I can be responsible for is what I do. You're not going to change a person's mind if they don't want their mind to be changed. That's not what I do on here. I tell you what I think, what I believe, and you have a right to think what you want, and you have a right to believe what you want to believe. I'm not going to sit there and get back and forth with people on what they should believe and what they shouldn't believe. But Andy Ruiz definitely fell victim to the Buster Douglas syndrome. He openly admitted that he did, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this more on the Ringside Reporter podcast. Team Batman Boxing says would be crazy to one day see a reunion with TBV. Imagine it would be like a huge WWE return back in the day. No, Beeb versus Ness and Border Wars. No, I'm too old. I'm gonna be 50 tomorrow. Tomorrow's my birthday. I'm gonna officially be 50 years old. I'm not fighting anybody anymore unless they stole money from me. I'm not fighting anyone anymore unless they stole money from me, and I got a bat. Too old to fight now, guys. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. The only person I'm fighting now is Father Time. Trying to just live a good life, healthy life. Thank you, Benjamin Franklin. I appreciate that. Try to stay in shape. I'm going to go to the gym as soon as I finish this video. How old are you, Sean? You look like you're about maybe 30, 37, 38. You don't look that old. Wow, you're 52? January 10th. Wow. I thought you were about 38, 37, 38. You look good for your age too, brother. $52, man. Wow. Good for you, man. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that. My only problem is, thank you guys. Thank you for the happy birthday wish. How about some birthday super chats for the beat? Trying to get a new microphone, man. This microphone isn't as good as Eric's. When I shout into it, there's some distortion. Trying to get like a noise cancellation microphone, not microwave. Excuse me. Yeah. Sean's from Canada, but he lives in Taiwan. Yep. It's going to be a great show today, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you guys jump on. Now, I'm not going to hit the front squat, so I'm going to do some chest and biceps today, do some cardio, do some abs. Do abs almost every day, man. Try to keep that midsection tight. Thank you, Scant Rants. He says happy birthday. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, guys. Yeah. So it's going to be a great show today. Make sure you guys join us. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm gonna eat a lot of crow today. I'm gonna get my thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that. I'm gonna get my ass lit up today. I know for a fact I'm gonna get my ass lit up today, man, and I deserve it, man. I deserve it. I was talking a lot of trash before this fight. I was so adamant about everything I was saying, during my preview and breakdown of this fight. And it is what it is, man. You got to take it on the chin. I'm just lucky I didn't make any pie bets on this. I don't have to stick any pies in my face, so I'm happy with that, bro. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna jump out of here, man. Get my day started. Paul Williams was worse in my opinion than this. No way, dude. Paul Williams, he won the first fight. Why was that a worse pick? That was a 50-50 fight, bro. Come on, man. How could people say thank you, Batman Team Batman Boxing? Appreciate that. Why was that? Does anyone think that picking Paul Williams in the rematch with Sergio Martinez was a bad pick? Was that like a horrible pick? It was an even money fight. He was actually favored. Sean Newton, of course you're gonna say yup. Everyone's gonna Monday morning quarterback it now. Oh, he's saying no. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Jim. I'm not gonna say fuck anybody, man. No way. No hate here, bro. No hate here, bro. Guys, thank you so much for joining me, man. I appreciate it, and thank you for the birthday wishes. Okay, man. I'm sorry, Sean. Thank you for the birthday wishes. And yeah, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Make sure you join us tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you, Igloo. I appreciate that. Beeb, how's Joshua going to learn to box like Lennox Lewis? He got no head movement. He's too slow. Hey, bring it on, bro. I was saying during the broadcast last night, he looks like Lennox Lewis. Like I said, man, this is Crow Day for me. This is Crow Day for me, man. There's anyone that gives me stick today, there's nothing I can do about it. There's absolutely nothing I can do about it. You guys can beat me up all day if you want, man. There's nothing I can do about it. I gotta take my crow like a man today, man. I gotta take my crow like a man today, man, because I gotta take the L. What Lennox Lewis was not fighting Barney Rubble. Yeah. I got you. I like you more than Eric now. Thank you, Sean. Make sure you join us tonight. You tell Eric that. Oh, that's funny, man. Me to Beeb, AJ, bring the fire to Ruiz Jr. Yup. AJ, bring the fire. Yup. All right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. Thank you, everybody. And like I said, I appreciate everyone joining me today. And thank you so much, man. Trigger Happy J says, "Happy birthday, B. I hope you have a great day. And don't let anyone bring you down because it is your day, King. Much love, brother. I'm sorry I can't send money abroad. Hey, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Thank you so much. those words mean just as much as money to me, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. All right, guys. Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Make sure you join us tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll have a great show tonight. All right. Thank you so much. Peace.